Hello, I'm Rami Niranjan Desai. Today, in the series of interviews that I'm doing on the fast developing India Australia relations, we have with us Dr. Parwinder Kaur. A biotechnologist by profession, Dr. Parwinder Kaur has earned many accolades through her innovative biotechnology research, um, such as Microsoft's AI for Earth Award in 2019. She was also a finalist for Western Australia's Innovator of the Year Award in 2022. Dr. Kaur is also an assistant professor with the University of Western Australia School of Agriculture and Environment. Her work on genome sequencing and capacity building in international agriculture and environmental biotechnology has made her a leader in the field. Dr. Kaur is also the founder of Explanta Ltd, which seeks to merge scientific knowledge with technology to deliver bioengineering solutions for humans and animal health. As of recently, Dr. Parwinder Kaur has also been appointed to the Australian government's expert panel for enhancing diversity and women's participation in the STEM sector. Dr. Parwinder Kaur, welcome. And that is really a wonderful bio that you have. You've clearly achieved so much.
Thank you so much, Rami, and thank you so much to the entire wonderful initiative you guys have put together from the Indian Embassy, featuring all these amazing, inspiring stories. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here today.
It's wonderful to have you on. Let me start by asking you, Dr. Kaur, first of all, could you help us trace your journey from India to Australia?
Yeah, sure. It's been a while. I was 26 years old when like in our education system, we go from one degree to another back home. So I completed my bachelor's as with honors with the Punjab Agricultural University, which is one of the top universities, agricultural universities, given Green Revolution to the world. So it was an absolute honor to be graduating from that university. And what intrigued me the most was, although my dad was an army and I have mostly lived in the cities and getting posted from one part of India to another. However, every summer holidays, dad would take leave and we would go back to our village back in Punjab, and Nawashahar. It's kind of somewhere located. It's very close to Chandigarh, and in between Chandigarh and Jalandhar. And that is when I I was just a lot of times I was heartbroken to see my uncles who kind of like work super hard in the fields as farmers. They generate food for the entire world, but when it actually coming to their own financial situation, it's not really something to be very proud of about farmers. And that kind of like I got intrigued, heartbroken, of course, but I wanted to do something for that. And that is what led me to the agricultural space and leaving the medical behind, which is kind of like either you're a doctor or an engineer, sort of what exactly my parents wanted me to do as well. So I took a little bit of side turn in there and I never regretted that. And plant protection was always the key field that I wanted to follow because it's mainly the diseases and the insects which cause most of the damage to our crops, and that kind of takes away all the financial benefits at the later stages in the crops as well, despite having other problems as well. So yeah, no, I kind of hit a roadblock after doing my masters because somehow if I may say that our system in India is how fantastic education system it is. Like we kind of can compete anywhere in the world if you are educated in the Indian system, because the level of the competition there, for one seat there is 1 million sitting in the entrance exam. So that's great. We work super hard and we're very resilient. However, our system really does not allow us to sort of move around across different disciplines. So if you've chosen to be in plant protection, in India, as per the university system, I have to do my master's, my PhD exactly, and it just gets narrower and narrower because you specialize in that field. But that is not something I wanted to do, because as I went narrower and narrower, I see there's lots of other stuff which makes complete sense to be brought together, and that's when I started looking outside India at that, and that was the one reason. And being born in an army family, the last thing you want to do is leave your country, because you like the patriotism is like in a daily life, it's kind of ingrained in your mind. Of course, parents were not very happy, but that's when the opportunity came, to come to Australia, especially to Western Australia. If the listeners or the viewers don't know, Western Australia is the closest part of the Australia to India. We share the Indian Ocean as compared to Melbourne and Sydney. But the really special part, reason for coming to Western Australia was its biodiversity. Western Australia world has 35 biodiversity hotspots, and out of that, 15 are in Australia. It's a mega diverse country like India, and out of those 15, 8 are in Western Australia. So it's a very, very special place, very blessed with the nature, just like India. So that was the reason, I came here, and it's been a wonderful journey. Wonderful journey.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, apart from all the challenges, you've made it to Australia, and, you have now become a renowned face in the STEM sector in Australia. So, apart from your parents' reservations, I'm sure they're very, very proud of you now. But, uh, looking at your new appointment, uh, how would you describe the state of gender and other intersectional diversity inclusion in the sector now?
Yeah, so this is something like big kudos to the Australian government, I must say. Then, and I can actually reflect that with the success I've had, or a sort of a really good pathway I've had so far, made available to me in terms of the opportunities in this country. The thing is that, look, right now the whole world is kind of like reinventing itself when it comes to diversity and inclusion. Though we see a lot of diversity around us these days, we find ourselves in mostly multicultural environments and a lot of different things converging in different sectors. And everybody's better off having more diverse and more cultural backgrounds and more different, like some people with high IQ, but at the same time, you need the EQ at the same time. And I say this all the time that, and this is in our granthas and Vedas, like documented that, it's been said like, males are, they have very high IQ because they're very good at focusing on, single things. Whereas females, they've got a very superior EQ. And there has been this debate going on, from ages that, you need EQ or you need an IQ. And I say that you need actually both. Like, to run this world, you
Absolutely.
need both the genders, right? Same way, you need both IQ and EQ. And having the right gender balance brings in that balance into your workplace as well. But having said that, now we do not just define ourselves diverse just by having the equal number of male and females, because what about those people who do not have the equal opportunities available to them, just because they do not live in the cities, or they are not exactly in the right age bracket, which is the most advantageous or the best age bracket, like 18 years to 30 years of age or 35 years of age. What about those people like who are living in remote areas? What about those people who kind of have disabled parents, or somebody they have to full-time care for? So I think that when we think about diversity and inclusion, we need to think about all of this. Anything that is preventing someone from not having equal access to the opportunity, or stopping them to have that access, needs to be like thought through, and then those barriers need to be removed. And that's exactly what Australia is doing, and I'm so proud, like, to be part of this. It's a real privilege and a pleasure to work with a minister, I call Minister Husik as like the chief enthusiast officer, because he's like he it's like, he really wants to make this happen. He wants to see this through, and he's putting no boundaries around, what can be achieved through this expert panel or the review we are undertaking and the data analysis we are undertaking. So I think that's the way to go. When we are reinventing ourselves, we need to just kind of remove those boundaries and enable our people and just go for it, because this is our opportunity to make the change.
You're absolutely correct. Like, I don't think equal representation, can be just divided into genders, but everybody else who doesn't have access to what they should, it should extend to that as well. But why would you say that equal representation is important in the field of STEM? And what are the hurdles that you think, you'd face to achieve this goal?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like every country is right now reinventing itself. But I mean, US, I think it has, because of like the amount of immigration that happened into that country, there's like so many, so it kind of like, it become the country of opportunities for everybody, and it has come a long, long way. The places which been colonized in the past and kind of like they kind of taking up that very, very seriously. It's just absolutely incredible to see what India has achieved in just 75 years of independence. It's a very, very short time frame when it comes to such a huge democracy it is, and how wonderful. And when I've been back and I see like all these female founders and all sorts of ages and entrepreneurs of the age of like you can't even imagine. It's absolutely incredible. But coming back to your question, like why it is important, it is important because it's a perspective, which everybody brings into the table, which is absolutely important to consider when you're making decisions, for everybody. So specifically in STEM, we have actually known it the hard way that how important science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is for our world. Like how much it can do in situations like in a pandemic we've been in the last 3 years. Like how the STEM workforce worked day and night to make this, to get us through this period. And when you're talking about periods like this, there's some really important decisions that needed to be made for mankind to survive and kind of how things look today. And would you be comfortable those decisions just being made by a few elite people which comprise of one kind of a mindset or culture, or they, for example, like if I have to break it down in the simplest thing, I have a student. He was a PhD student. Normally, PhD students complete 4 to 5 years time. This student taken 8 years and literally tested my patients some days. And one day I kind of sit down with him and I'm trying to understand exactly what are the barriers, because he looks perfectly fine. He's very, very bright. And then I learned that he has a disabled mom, and he is the only carer, for her. So of course he is juggling and he's prioritizing, and we all have something which doesn't come very obvious, but it's in the background, which does prevent us and prevent the opportunities from us. But because he's so bright, he comes up with all these perspectives that I would not actually think of. So he's a very valuable member of the team. But having said that, getting that valuable member to bring things to the table, you have to sometimes bend the rules. You have to sort of change the way you work in that workplace and be inclusive. So it's not just about say it's diverse and it's available to all, but it's actually going that extra step to really understand what that person's coming. There are a lot of things like even culturally and linguistically different. For example, I come from India. 26 years I was, I've always thought processes in Hindi or Punjabi, the languages I speak in India. And the moment you come here, you always like talking in English. But my mind is still thinking in Hindi. And then it's translating. and then I'm speaking, you know. So there is a whole, it's exhausting in the first few years, and that could be a disadvantage in certain situations when you have to pitch someone to 60 seconds or 30 seconds in an elevator pitch or something like that. So it's not that those people are not valuable members of the society and they have so much to give, but you need to probably take that into consideration, that they might have some inhibitions, and that's where that's where the work needs to happen. We really need to understand that what are those systemic barriers which are preventing from that to happen, and how can we become a society, or become a new world where everybody feels, and feels being part of of the future, or creating the future in an eco space.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. But, you are in this great position as Australian government's expert panel for promotion of diversity in STEM. What do you think your definitive agenda would be in leading this?
So to be honest, being an academic and being a scientist, my mind works. I need some data and I need evidences, and I need to test different iterations of it. I need to validate it. And one of the most important part is like having a hypothesis in place so that you can test that out. So it's a 1 year appointment. Which has been made, and we have been supported by an incredible team from the department of from Minister Cusick's office. So the first part of the work that we have undertaken in the last 2.5 months since the appointment's been made is basically making a list of all the stakeholders who've been actually working in this area and trying to make it a better place. So if you just talk about Australian government has invested heavily into this area. There's more than $100 million of sort of funding that has gone and injected into this area in the last few years to sort of make it more diverse, make it better for the future workforce. However, we don't know exactly how the numbers have changed and what is the framework there to really analyze that if the numbers have been made. So that's the first thing. We made the list of all the programs that have been funded across Australia. Now we are gathering more data, and that is an engagement phase where we're actually engaging with the stakeholders and engaging with the people who've actually gone through those programs and kind of experienced it firsthand. And that data will inform, the data, the proper analysis that needs to be conducted to really come to that point and say, okay, great, we've got 200 different programs right now, but only 5 of them or 10 of them are the ones which are actually working for us. Or there might be like a suite of 50 that are kind of working, but there's these things work really good in this one, these things work really good in that one. So how do we actually bring it all together, consolidate, and make our dollar go or investment go into this sector longer, with a very solid foundation of evidence-based collaborative work into that. So that is exactly what we're doing at this moment. So it's a review. We are making recommendations based on all what I have explained to you, and that will be presented to the Prime Minister in July 2023. Following which, there will be like back and forth iterations, and then there will be hopefully some sort of a legislative action that will be taken to bring that into force, and hopefully, that is the change we are all looking for. And it's work in progress. It's always going to be work in progress, but well begun is half done. That's what I believe in.
Absolutely. I think it's a very large task ahead of you. But if not you, then who? So we're very happy that you're leading the way. But having said that, the STEM sectors, and this is my final question to you, the STEM sectors in both India and Australia are very strong. And we've seen India and Australia go from strength to strength in their relationship building. In this area, how do you think the two countries can further build their cooperation on the promotion of diversity?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, Australia is heading to where India has been, millions of years. India probably, if I know it right, is one of the most diverse nations, on this planet. It's not just, you travel 50 kilometers and language changes, or at least the dialect changes, the way how people dress up, it changes. The food changes, the spices
Change.
changes. So that's immense diversity, and still it's one country. It's kind of so connected, and it's very well represented. In terms of different all those diverse people. If you look at our federals, or like the way the country is presenting itself, it's really, really well sort of connected in that area and represented across different regions. And I think that's exactly what is happening with Australia, with a lot of immigration that has happened. If you just talk about, there's a huge Indian diaspora that is living in Australia right now. So it becomes absolutely important to make sure that everybody who's calling Australia their home now, they feel that it is their home. They are included in that decision making for the country, not just have a passport, and a job there, but they're actually really part of that workforce. And I think that initiatives like this will actually pave a beautiful path for all those people who are looking forward to Australia, call it their home, or already calling home. And that's going to benefit hugely. That exchange between Australia and India, I think there's amazing learnings that both the countries, and these two countries are going to be the two biggest superpowers. This whole ECTA, all these things are strengthening this collaboration. And the most important thing, and I'm not going to take it too long to answer your question, but the most important thing which I see, being an Indian, also an Australian, is the values of the two nations. Both the nations are built on very, very strong values, and they align perfectly. And if you just look at the national anthems of the two countries, you will see that how our foundational values are absolutely like, you can translate this into this and this into this and say, oh, it's pretty much the same thing. So I don't think so. There is a better combination or a better partnership than Australia and India, and I'm very hopeful, looking forward to the future, what it will bring for all of us.
Dr. Kaur, the parallels that you drew are absolutely, precise in terms of India's diversity and the fact that Australia also welcomes this sort of diversity. And I think you're a live example of that. And I think, like you said, that this relationship is a very fast developing relationship. And in the Indo-Pacific as well, these are going to be two future superpowers, and ECTA, or our security collaborations are all leading towards that. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for taking the time out and being with us. It was incredible to hear you speak and to know that you're doing such meaningful work, such impactful work. So we wish you the best for 2023 and hope to have you on again with us very soon. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, everybody. Namaste. And, we say here, Kaya, hello, and, Dhanyavad from my side, because I think the platform you guys are providing for this Mate Mitra is absolutely amazing. This is going to take everything to the next level. Thank you very much.
So much.